Hi, my name is Emily Decker, and I examine the sanctity of Mauna Kea and associated threatening factors. Throughout history, the sanctity of indigenous sites have been threatened, and in some cases these sites have been destroyed. And the instance of Mauna Kea in Hawaii is no exception. The various factors that threaten the sanctity of Mauna Kea are examined, especially in regard to the recent history of the site. Previously conducted research has shown that although organizations claim they want what is best for the site, there are different definitions of what is best. The instance of Mauna Kea is just one of many examples where organizations have disregarded the desires and sovereignty of the indigenous people. Qualitative methods were used to gather information on the threats against and actions to preserve the site. It was discovered that although there is one major threat currently, the 30-meter telescope, there are also threats relating to economic development and the continuation of science. The findings show that not a great deal has changed in terms of actions from large organizations who have little knowledge about indigenous people compared to the original colonizers. The objective that I examined was to analyze the factors that threaten the sanctity of Mauna Kea along with the history of these threats. For my methodology, I utilized materials that were obtained from tribal news websites, newspapers, and academic journal articles. The tribal news websites provided a great deal of information on things that are happening in relation to Mauna Kea currently. Then these things are usually not published in other news outlets in the United States. And then academic articles were utilized to gain a broader sense of the thoughts associated with Mauna Kea and its sanctity, especially throughout history. Through my research, I found that three of the main threatening factors to the sanctity of Mauna Kea are the role of economic development, the role of science, which then plays into the 30-meter telescope. The 30-meter telescope, it is a proposed 18-story telescope that is slated to be built near the top of Mauna Kea, and it is an issue that the Hawaiians have been fighting for quite a long time. Vivian Schnall, in her 2021 journal article, asserted that for Native Hawaiians, the struggle against the 30-meter telescope is a struggle to preserve their connection with the land, which is intrinsically tied to their personhood. And then this statement shows that the roots for Hawaiians go a great deal deeper than just the physical bond with the land, and that Mauna Kea is a large part of the creation story, leading to nothing else in the world that compares to this site, and there's nothing that could take the place of this site. With economic development throughout history, the main reason why there was development structurally on Mauna Kea in the beginning was due to the government of Hawaii trying to bounce back from a large tsunami. After the tsunami, an access road was proposed to be built up Mauna Kea to help with tourist traffic and to help revitalize the economy. Science has also had a very large role in threatening the sanctity of Mauna Kea, since if Mauna Kea was not such a desirable spot by the University of Hawaii and many astronomers, there would be no need for threats to the sanctity that we would know of. The issue that plays into the role of science is that the Mauna Kea is part of ceded land that the University of Hawaii has had access to, and they've been talking about acknowledging that they are on ceded lands but have never fully acknowledged this issue. And in conclusion, the threats to the sanctity of Mauna Kea are not new developments. They're something that the University of Hawaii has been aware of since the telescopes were first proposed to be built in 1968. There is one example where, although Mauna Kea is being used for scientific purposes, there is incorporation of Hawaiian culture into the center, and this is at the Imaloa Astronomy Center. At the Imaloa Astronomy Center, their research being done is being presented with plaques in both English and traditional Hawaiian languages. And due to all of the opposition to the 30-meter telescope, Other sites have been examined around the world, but Mauna Kea is the top choice, and there is not really any indication that people will give up trying to get the telescope on Mauna Kea. And then a lack of unbiased information and research was difficult to find on this topic, and it would be beneficial for a more immersed research experience, due to then there could be a better chance of gathering more information on this topic and continuing the research in a less biased way, or at least getting a more well-rounded perspective.